what I like to see right there. Look at how long that freaking thing is spinning for. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video on Pure Panorama. I'm gonna say from the start, if you hear any wind noise coming through the camera, I apologize. I haven't put the wind muff back on. I've just been busy and I need to clean the camera and put that on, and then the wind noise will be gone. Nothing to worry about. In this video though, I wanna kinda just go over how the install of the hx35 turbo on the 24 valve Cummins was, what I had to do, how things kind of went, and just all of that stuff so that you guys can get a general idea of what to expect if you're gonna do this modification on your truck or install a turbo in general, because it's basically gonna be all the same. Installing any turbo, doesn't matter what it is, but some guys, if you are looking to do an hx35, you'll be able to get a little bit more detail and specifics out of this video as far as how to do that and what is needed. But basically, this is going to be a general guide for anybody who wants to put a different turbo on their truck, and it doesn't matter what it is. How about we just start with the fact that the nice glossy black engine enamel paint, well, yeah, that doesn't look to be holding up all that well. It is what it is. It does still look a lot cleaner, but we've kind of lost the shine to it because of the exhaust housing heating up. Still looks all right back here on the elbow and here in the bearing assembly, but right there, this old housing, not looking so hot. I did get stainless bolts for the exhaust elbow to go into the exhaust housing. These were a M8 by 1.25. That's what these bolts are here. So if you are looking to do new bolts on your exhaust housing, that is what size hardware you're gonna need. I reused the bolts here for the flange on the exhaust elbow. Just used the ones that came in the hx35, and the old ones that I took off from the hy35 I've got just laying to the side. They were pretty beat up and in rough shape. I do have the old oil feed fitting in this hx35 because I didn't have the new one in yet. It should be here today. It probably is here at the house. I just got home from work, so I had to check, but we are gonna put a new oil feed adapter in the hx35, but so I could get the hx35 on the truck and kind of surprise the channel and get this video out there for you guys, I did reuse this old one just for a day or two. I think the only problem so far that we possibly have is a slight oil leak from the oil drain tube right there. I can't tell 100% if it is actually dripping from the turbo being on the truck right now while it's running and the oil is draining back to the block, or if it's just leftover slime or oil from when we installed the turbo. I'm gonna wipe it all down, clean it off, and then check it after we drive the truck next. But that very well could be our first problem with this hx35 turbo. Now basically installing this thing was so easy, guys. It is so easy to put a new turbo on your truck. You would be surprised at how easily the exhaust stuff comes apart. All the bolts on the manifold that hold the charger to the manifold, the two bolts back there that hold the flange to the exhaust elbow, all that stuff. This was the only bolt right here that gave me any trouble, but otherwise everything just broke apart so nicely and didn't feel like it was gonna break or snap. It really is so simple to get it all off, and it is a matter of 4, 6, 8 bolts in total, and you undo your oil feed and then this thing is coming out. Oh, and you gotta loosen up this 11mm nut right here on your V-band clamp that holds your elbow to the compressor housing. So if you have a 2000 to 2002 automatic 24 valve Cummins and you have that little hy35 turbo on your truck, you can do this mod, this turbo upgrade right here for very, very cheap if you're just gonna go with the stock charger like I have on the truck at the moment. Now you can spend a little more obviously and have some work done to it and put a bigger turbo on the truck, still an hx35 with bigger compressor wheel after getting it machined out and everything, and that's gonna cost you a little bit more, but you'll still have this same appearance. Or you can just do the bare minimum and rebuild an hx35, throw it on your truck, and it is a direct drop-in replacement. It literally bolts right up where the hy35 once sat. I'm talking that I reused the two studs that were in the manifold here, slipped this exhaust housing right up over those, threw the same nuts right back on it, took two grade 8 bolts here and here to hold the top with lock washers under the nuts, and that's it, man. The freaking hx35 is then strapped to your exhaust manifold, and like I said, you just reuse these bolts here for the exhaust elbow to hold your downpipe to it and make sure that you don't have exhaust leaks. And obviously you reuse the little bolts at your oil drain, do a new oil drain gasket, a new O-ring. If you are going to reuse the oil feed adapter here, you at least want to do a new O-ring on it, or you, for $20, you can just get a whole new adapter and put that in. I mean, that is how simple it is. They're really, that's why I guess I didn't really go and do a total in-depth installation video on this, because it's just very straightforward and basic on how to install these. And also because I installed it in an hour's time on my lunch break, so I didn't really have too much time to film and get into everything. But if that tells you anything, it literally took an hour to put this in the truck and get the old one out of here. Now, if you are gonna get an hx35, you do have an automatic 24 valve 2nd gen, and you wanna put the hx35 in it and get rid of the hy35, if you pull it apart to rebuild it, which is also a very simple procedure, I do have a video of me rebuilding this one, so you can go find that on the channel. It should be a few videos back from like last week or something. Go check that out and you can see how that is done, how you put the new journal bearings in, all that stuff, and what the procedure is to get this thing rebuilt. But if you are going to rebuild it, when you put it back together, you do want to make sure that you put some witness marks on it so that you know where things line up to, and you can make sure that this thing is clocked in the right position so that it will match up here at the compressor housing and your elbow that runs to your intercooler piping. I did not have to make any tweaks or adjustments on my hx35. I literally strapped it to the exhaust manifold and it was directly in line with that elbow. I had it clocked perfect to the T. Did not have to loosen up anything at all and reclock it. But if for whatever reason you do have to reclock it, then you're gonna loosen these 4 bolts right here that hold these little bands. They're little clamps, and they hold the bearing housing in together with the exhaust housing. You would loosen those up just a couple turns, and then you would be able to pivot the bearing housing and the compressor housing here just a little bit to get it to line up with this elbow, but still want to make sure that it is going up and down in vertical so that your oil feed can come in, drip, and then make it through lubricating the shaft and the internals of the turbo, and then still make it out the oil drain at the bottom. So you do want to make sure that you have this somewhat still straight up and down, but that you can get this elbow attached to your compressor housing. And the compressor housings are lined up with a little dowel, so you don't have to worry about marking that. It can really only go back on one way, and there's a little slot that lines up with the dowel. So it's all real easy, guys. Like I said, straightforward. You can definitely do this on your own and make it happen for your truck and get some better power out of it. Now with the hx35 turbo, I do get bigger boost numbers in the truck. I am getting slightly lower EGTs. I noticed that the EGTs have dropped by a couple hundred degrees, even more than a couple hundred degrees if I'm just cruising on flat roads. When I get into steep grades and long hills and I'm climbing them, they're still down a couple hundred degrees, and if I get into the throttle, I can now get into the throttle, I should say, and not worry about the EGTs flying up over 1200, 1250, 1300 degrees. So before with the hy35, because I have 125 horsepower injectors in this truck, when I had the hy35 on, if I was on a steep hill and I would get into the throttle, the EGTs would climb so much and so rapidly that I wouldn't even be able to gain any speed. I would have to back out of the throttle almost instantly from the time that I got into it. Now I'm able to get into it and keep going, and the EGTs will climb, but they get right to around 1000 degrees on steep hills and pulling up long hills. They get right up to around 1000, and then they sit there. They don't really peak out anymore, and I can get the throttle pressed down about halfway and start to really gain some speed up the hills and increase my speed now and not worry about the EGTs skyrocketing. So that is a good plus, and just one big benefit that I've seen so far with the hx35 on the truck. Like I said in yesterday's video though, we will definitely get into numbers and the boost numbers and the EGT numbers and do videos of stuff like that that get a little bit more in depth and explain stuff more, show you more of the performance side of things. After I've had more time with it on the truck, I get to experience it a little bit and figure things out. We will also start messing with the diesel auto power adjustable boost elbow and playing around with the boost levels. So that would be this guy right here. There's your little adjustable boost elbow, and what it has in it is a little screw right here, a little Allen key screw that you would use an Allen wrench on. So you can turn that little screw in and it will completely close your wastegate off, or you can back it out and allow the air to travel through this elbow up through your boost line into the wastegate and allow your wastegate to work. So you can go either direction and play and adjust your boost levels right there. I will say though, the truck just sounds so much healthier and better with this hx35 turbo on it. Even just standing behind it now, you can hear this thing whistling so much louder through the exhaust. Cruising down the road when the turbo is not building boost yet, you can just hear it whining and whining and whining, just waiting for you to get into the throttle so it can start screaming and building boost. It definitely helps the truck get up and go faster. You can feel it pull when it lights up, and you can definitely see, like I said, a change in the EGT. So it has, I already noticed, it has definitely made some pretty big improvements to the 24 valve Cummins over the hy35. The other beautiful thing with the hx35 is the fact that that compressor wheel, when you shut the truck down, literally just sits there and spins so freely for a good 30 seconds or so. When I would shut the truck down with the hy35, because that thing is so tired and whooped, it needs a rebuild so badly, the compressor wheel would literally come to a screeching halt within 5 or 10 seconds upon shutting the truck down. But now you guys saw it in the beginning of the video, when we shut this thing down, that thing just freaking keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning, and I love it. So we are going to rebuild the hy35 and make sure that it will do the same thing. And then after we get it built, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it yet. So we're gonna get the hy35 rebuilt, and then I'm gonna decide and figure out what I want to do with it. I was just gonna hold on to it as a spare, possibly put it back on the 24 valve just for a little bit so that I can have some stuff done with the hx35 and get that machine work done and have this thing built with bigger compressor wheel and turbine, so we have a bigger turbo for the truck. So I was thinking of doing that with the hy35, just rebuild it and then throw it back on here while the hx35 gets sent out. But that is all going to depend on if I can find another hx35, or I have an idea of possibly a different turbo, trying to find one of them. So I don't know, there's one of two turbos that I am going to try to track down. So if we can find one of the two, then the hy35 I'll probably just get rid of. That is going to do it for this video though. I just got home from work. It's been a long day. I've been gone since early this morning and it's later now at night. Just wanted to go over how the installation was of the hx35 on the 24 valve Cummins, kind of give you guys an idea of what needs to be done basically. And like I said, it's a direct replacement of the hy35. You don't need anything special for it at all. You just pull the hy35 out, drop the hx35 in, and basically how you would install this hx35 is how you would install any other turbo, unless you're doing compounds or something. If you're just installing one turbo, it's very straightforward and you can just do what I showed you here in this video. So that's gonna do it. Drop a like on this video before you leave. If you're stopping into the channel for the first time, you just found it, checking everything out, hit that subscribe button, join the family. We got some fun stuff hopefully coming up here with the 24 valve and other things that I'm gonna be getting for it and doing to it. So you don't wanna miss that. Hit subscribe, hit like, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. There she is, boys, the little old tiny hy35. You will get some attention soon though. You're gonna be all freshened up. Look at the difference in the wastegate though. See how it has that hard line on it instead of the rubber boost hose that I showed you on the hx35? No adjustable boost elbow. That's the biggest main difference aside from being slightly smaller than an hx35. You cannot adjust the wastegate on these. They are preset, and what you get is what you get. Unless you use a boost fooler, a J-hook, an X-hook, something like that, a turnbuckle from Home Depot, you can pinch a little bit more boost out of them, but I don't know. That's not the best way to go. I just wanna